Thank you. You guys are great. Thank you so much. There's no one clapping, is there? Nope. Just awful quiet out there. I guess we're not Insta famous yet. I guess that comes after we die. All right. Speaking of wine that's not dying, the Bodegas Riojanas, Rioja, Gran Reserva, Viña, Albina, named after the wife of one of the proprietors who founded the bodega in 1890. Viña Albina is one of the icon wines, one of the icon classic wines produced in Rioja, and has been for decades. Their wines produced in the 50s, 60s, and 70s were renowned, and the wines they produced since the early 90s on are renowned once again. You know, we had that long pregnant pause in Rioja. You know, the 70s and 80s were rough sledding as the vineyards industrialized and the people industrialized as well, with the next generation heading to the big city of Bilbao in hopes of striking it rich in the finance industry, etc. They weren't too interested in working in the vineyards. Today even, there's not a lot of people interested in working in the vineyards. You know, vineyard work is hard work. It really does. I mean, it's a labor of love. You have to want to be in there for 8 hours a day, getting dirty, tilling, weeding, pruning, cutting, leafing, mucking, picking, harvesting. It's really intense work. So when wines like these can stand the test of time and endure and come out on the back end as beautiful, beautiful babies, then that's exactly what we're looking for. And this wine is a beautiful baby. So when I say classic, I mean classic. All right, these guys are still almost all, if not exclusively, American oak. Again. Little, if no, there's no new oak. Imperceptible. Let's just cut right to it. I was thinking in my head, is it 5%? Is it 8%? Is it, No. These guys, when you walk into an average Rioja bodega, you'll see just a bunch of old looking barrels and you're like, holy crap. Like for those of people that walked in the Napa, fancy Napa places and Bordeaux places, you're gonna be like, there's wine in those? And the answer is yes. Delicious, beautiful wine. And the thing is, the American oak generally has a little tighter grain. So they're more durable barrels, for want of a better word. I asked some of the Riojanos about this, and they're like, yeah, the barrels last longer. So once you get that oak flavor out of the barrel, then basically you have this wonderful vessel that, for extended aging and for using again and again and again, is perhaps even better than the French barrels. So those practical Spanish, huh? So this is, there's two different Gran Reserva labels from Riojanas, okay? One we've sold in the past that you might be familiar with is the Monte Real. The Monte Real is a single vineyard offering of 100% Tempranillo. In this case, the Albina is their more kind of Burgundian offering. A lot of these famous classic Spanish properties kind of have two alternative Gran Reserva style wines. You know, in Cune, you have Imperial, which is the more Bordeaux style, and you have Viña Real, which is more Burgundian style. With Lopez, you have Viña Tondonia, the more Bordeaux style. Then you have Viña Bosconia, which is the more Burgundian style. In this case, I think the bottles are reversed, but the mojo is the same, where the Monte Real has a little more Bordeaux vibe, and this one has a little more Burgundian vibe. 85% Tempranillo, 15% Masuelo, 5% Graciano, and all from vines that are at least 35 to 40 years old. So with the Gran Reserva wines, remember, they're only using the top material to produce these Gran Reserva wines because only the best grapes and the best vineyards are suitable for the extended aging period, which is, I believe, 36 months, 30 months in barrel, followed by 36 months at least aging. But of course, as we all know, these guys go way above and beyond that. So it's a ripe year, a delicious year, a juicy year, a ravishing year in Rioja 2015 is. Like we talked about with the Rioja Alta piece we did on their 890 Gran Reserva, which is a $90 bottle of wine. The vintage produced these juicy, yummy, fleshy, real saucy wines, just full of fruit, yet quite vigorous, capable of aging. There's great structure here. But the difference is the vineyards are sourcing, these are like high acid sites. So you get wonderful nerve here. So on the nose, you get that cocoa, really deep red, fading to black fruit flavors, super rich aromatics. On the palate, this wine cut's really super clean with a swath of really fine tannin. This wine's gonna age more based on its acid structure as opposed to its tannin structure. This isn't a hurtful wine. This isn't a painful wine. This is a joyous wine, an exuberant wine, but packed with fruit from a really ripe year, right? So you kind of have you got the nerve and the intensity of fruit all kind of mushing together and making this beautiful, exquisite bottle of Rioja Gran Reserva. Which, by the way, we sold Albina since the early 90 vintages. We got right back on with them. I think 91 or 94 was the first Gran Reserva. We got back here after they did some, after that rough time in the 70s and the 80s. We'll talk about that quiet time. But we got right back on with them when they started upping their game, and their game is huge right now. They have fabulous game. Now, the game, they got great winemaking game. The import-export aspect of it, they're still working on, much to our benefit, right? Because what happens is they start going through some different importers, that importer doesn't work, this doesn't work, they're in the market at the wrong time, COVID, Russian paratroopers, whatever, will lead to a moment where it just doesn't work anymore. And I know they've worked through a couple import-export scenarios, and I think they're getting it right. We have some older vintages in stock, like I said, with the Monterreal Gran Reserva. But in the meantime, you get a fabulous deal on this wine, because once again, the importer, I think they're sticking with this importer, if memory serves, but they're just looking to move on. I'm sure there's a 16 Gran Reserva coming down the pipeline, another outstanding vintage. So basically, you're trading off one outstanding vintage for another. Qualitatively, it's pretty even, but in this case, you get a shockingly good price. So this guy usually runs about $45 full retail, which is about half the price, for example, of the 904 from La Rioja Alta. But today, 25 bucks. Rioja Gran Reserva, top iconic producer, outstanding year, and like a 40% haircut. Yeah, I know, speaking of haircuts. Yeah, it's gonna happen at some point. Tristan's getting really angry right now.